viewers, I welcome you today in Integrated Science with me, Teacher Ian Hakalinda, a teacher at Fountain School who teaches grade 6 class. Today in science, we'll look at health as the major title. Now, under health, we looked at last time, on the title which was saying HIV and AIDS. Alright? HIV and AIDS. So in that lesson, we discussed what these letters stand for. We discussed how all these letters stand for. We said HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. We said HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. Then AIDS, we said Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. We even looked at the difference which is there, because we said immunodeficiency, we said you need to bring it closer. Immunodeficiency, then here it will not be immuno, but it will be immune. So we said HIV stands for a Human Immunodeficiency Virus. Then we said Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. Then we also looked at between HIV and AIDS. We said HIV is a virus which causes AIDS, and we said this virus attacks different people, children, old people, and everyone can also have this virus, especially if that person has not handled himself or herself well. We also looked at different ways in which HIV or AIDS is, attracted, or somebody, or ways in which these two things or HIV can come about. Then we also said somebody who is infected with the virus, we said that person is HIV positive. That's what we said. We said somebody who is infected with this virus. Infected with this virus is said to be HIV positive. Then we said somebody who is not infected. Somebody who is not infected is HIV negative. So this was the topic we looked at last time. Now today, I want us to look at challenges. I want us to look at challenges. Challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. So look at now challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. So challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. Now here there are three terms that I want us to discuss. There's a word, stigmatization. I want us to discuss the definition of this word, stigmatization, in science, also discrimination. Discrimination. Thereafter, I will also look at the word disgrace. So these three things will help us understand what we are talking about. So when we say stigmatization, stigmatization is the act of condemning or accusing someone as a disgrace. So we are saying stigmatization in science is the act of accusing, or condemning someone as a disgrace. Okay, so stigmatization in science and the challenges of living with HIV and AIDS states is the act of accusing or condemning someone as a disgrace. Now, what is a disgrace? A disgrace is the condition of being out of favor. Disgrace is the condition of being out of favor or lack of regard or respect. Okay? Disgrace is the condition. So disgrace is the condition. Is the condition of being out of favor, or we can say is the state of being dishonored. Okay? You can also define the word disgrace as the condition of being, or the act of being, dishonored or covered with shame. So these two definitions can help us to understand the word disgrace. Disgrace is the condition of being out of favor or loss of respect. Alright, then the other definition we can say, disgrace is the act of being dishonored or covered with shame. Sometimes we hear people saying, you are a disgrace. What they mean is, those people who are taught to say you are a disgrace, they lack, they don't respect them, okay? They do not honor them, or they are covered with shame. So now, the other word, discrimination. Discrimination is the unjust or unfair treatment of someone. So discrimination is the unjust or unfair unfair treatment of someone. So, discrimination is the unjust or unfair treatment of someone. When you're not treating someone fairly, or treating that person in a good way, you are discriminating that person in different ways. It might be color, skin, or maybe the level at which that person is. So these words will help us understand what we're talking about as challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. Now, what are these challenges? So, arising from these points that I was trying to define, or these terms, we can say people living with HIV and AIDS are stigmatized or discriminated. Are we together? So these people, once in the society we discover to say John or maybe Peter has this virus, we may start, stigmatize that person or even discriminate him, regarding that person as a disgrace, such that in different, activities will not even be involving that person, which is not good. So we are saying challenges. What are these challenges that these people who are infected with this virus or with this virus, suffer from? Number one, we are saying they are stigmatized. They are stigmatized or discriminated. These people are stigmatized or discriminated. Sometimes infected people pity themselves and they may lose their self-esteem. So to cut this point short, you can just say they lose. They lose, self-esteem. Self-esteem. These people, once they are stigmatized and discriminated, they will lack the self-esteem, Each time they think about doing something, they will say, I can't do it. I can't do it. In the end, if it is at school, when you start, laughing at these people, even their performance will do what? Will change, will go down. So the other point we can say, some of them find it difficult to meet their nutritional requirements. So we can say another point to say, some of the people who are living with HIV and AIDS, some of them find it difficult. To meet their nutritional requirements. So because they are HIV and AIDS, or maybe they are HIV, they are infected with this virus, you discover that some of them will fail to do different tasks so as to maybe find money and meet their nutritional requirements. Some of them, they may have poor performance, just like we were saying to say, if it is at school, when you start stigmatizing these people, laughing at them, not even involving them, sometimes even teachers not even pointing at them when they are, they put their hands up. You may discover that next time these children will fail to, start performing in class because they are discriminated. So we are saying some of them, they have poor performance. They tend to have poor performance. In schools. The other point we can say, they go through emotional trauma. Because of what is happening around, these people will be having a lot of thoughts, thinking about themselves and what the people are regarding them. Sometimes there will be, each time as they move, they will not be, be free in their mind. So they will suffer or they go through emotional trauma. Then the last point, but not the least, we can say their health become affected too. Their health becomes affected. Then we can also add to say they suffer side effects, because when they are HIV or they are infected with this virus, they will start now taking different drugs, and perhaps those same drugs that they'll be taking will have some side effects. Okay, they will have some side effects. Now, can we also talk about ways in which this same thing, HIV and AIDS, is not transmitted? What are some of the ways in which HIV and AIDS cannot be transmitted? Last time we looked at ways in which it is transmitted. Now this time, what are some of the ways in which HIV and AIDS cannot be transmitted from one person to another? We can say, number one, by sitting next to the person who is infected. Okay, by not or by sitting next to the person infected. You cannot have a virus, HIV virus, okay? You cannot have the virus by sitting with somebody who is infected. You can't do that. Hence, you need to bring them closer to you. Once you discover to say, my friend, is having this virus, which has even led into a disease, you are not supposed to let that person go. No, you need to bring him closer, or you need to bring her closer to you. So you cannot have the virus by sitting next to someone. You can also not have the virus by maybe greeting or hugging, okay? By greeting or hugging. The person. It is important to greet this person, these people. Sometimes we may say it is important to bring them closer, just like we said on the first point. So which means even greeting them and hugging them, you cannot have this virus. You cannot have this virus. The other point we can say sharing food. It is important to even share food with them. You cannot have this virus by sharing food with these people who are infected. You cannot. Then the last point we can say insect bites. Okay? Insect bites. Okay, insect bites. You cannot have, the virus. Insect bites. So these are some of the ways in which the virus is not transmitted from one person to another. So here on the chart, I want us to go through what is written so that we conclude this thing. So number one, we said stigmatization is the act of accusing or condemning someone as a disgrace. Just like we explained the definition. So I'll ask you, maybe in the exercise, who knows? I may ask you to say, can you define the following terms? So to define it, you say stigmatization is the act of accusing or condemning someone as a disgrace. Now the word disgrace, because it is in the word stigmatization, we need to understand it. Disgrace is the condition of being out of favor, loss of favor, regard or respect. The other definition we can say, it is also the state of being dishonored or covered with shame. These two definitions, you just pick one or you know them, so that when you forget the other one, you remember the other definition. Then discrimination is the unjust or unfair treatment of someone. This one is very simple. You say discrimination is the unjust or unfair treatment of someone. Then people living with HIV and AIDS are stigmatized and discriminated. Okay, just like we said, what are these challenges? Sometimes these people who are living with HIV and AIDS are stigmatized and discriminated. Infected people pity themselves and they may lose their self-esteem. Okay? When they discover to say they are HIV positive, some of them, they even seeing themselves to be important people in the society. Alright, so the other point we can say, they find it difficult to meet their nutritional requirements. They will not be having enough food because each and every time they will be just thinking about what will come next. Hence, they will not even be having enough food with rich or food rich in different nutrients. Then the other point we can say, they have poor performance due to not attending classes because they are sick. Sometimes these people, especially if we have our friends, each and every day they will be going to the hospital to get those drugs. So sometimes they will be absconding from class. hence it will lead into having poor performance. But when you discover your friend is not attending classes, be a good Samaritan where you bring that person closer and help him or her so that you move at the same level. So this is where now we end with the lesson. Now before we conclude or before we end, we need to have an exercise and see if at all we are paying attention when the teacher was teaching. So you can get your pen, your pencil, and your book. Remember always to write in a very good handwriting so as to attract or have good marks. So be ready for the exercise. Alright, so these are the questions we're going to have. So we have the exercise. It says the first one, list 3 ways in which HIV and AIDS is not transmitted. You list the 3 things in which HIV and AIDS is not transmitted from one person to another. Number 2, define the following. Define the following. The first one is stigmatization. What do you understand when they say stigmatization? Discrimination, disgrace. Then number 3, mention any 3 challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. You mention 3 ways in which HIV, or they mention 3 ways, 3 challenges of living with HIV and AIDS. So this is where our lesson ends. So I'm urging you to pay attention as you answer so that you avoid making mistakes. So you have been with me, Ian Hakalinda, a teacher of grade 6 at Fountain School in Kasama. Until next time, bye-bye.